Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to the Pregame Cheat Sheet. I'm Darren Smith along with the great Steve Walls. We are live from MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey, home of not only the New York Football Giants, but also the New York Jets. Tonight's game, of course, is going to be a Sunday Night Football matchup featuring the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the New York Jets. And Steve, this was not the quarterback matchup that NBC had projected when they made the schedule.
It wasn't. But you know what? Here's the thing about it. It's still going to be a lot of electricity in this stadium because, look, all these Jets fans want to see an upset. And that's all I've been hearing is like, I think we can get it done. I think we can get it done. I'm like, okay. But again, it's going to be a lot of Chiefs fans, the ones, of course, who did not stay to see Beyonce. There are going to be a lot of Chiefs fans that are here in the stadium tonight.
Well, I mean, actually, if you can see behind us, I mean, it is literally a sea of red here, red and green here in MetLife Stadium. But, of course, some of the big news, and we'll get into all the minutia about the game. One of the things that NBC got help with was not only is Aaron Rodgers showing up tonight, for whatever reason we're not quite sure since he can't play in the game. But again, this was a matchup that initially, when the NFL made the schedule and they finally, the Jets finally settled on their quarterback in Aaron Rodgers, well, this was the game that they had marked up. This would have been the first time in 3 different outings that Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers would have had a chance to face off. And they did it early in case something happened later on in the season. But, of course, four games or 4 plays into the Jets' home opener here.
No one saw that.
Yeah, no one saw that coming. Aaron Rodgers, of course, tore his Achilles and is out for the year. That being said, he will be in the building tonight. But the bigger star that's going to be in the building that everybody seems to be going hoopla about is one Taylor Swift.
Yeah, I mean,
and I guess she's going to see her man.
I mean, here's the thing about it, man. There's so many like outside distractions with the whole Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce thing.
Right.
To me, I just feel like it's his personal business, that's been made public, and now a lot of people are talking about there's a distraction there, and I'm like, these guys have won 2 Super Bowls, been to 3 Super Bowls. There's no more of a distraction than trying to get back there. So that being said, I think from us viewing it from the outside, I don't think they feel the same way before they play a football game.
Now, well, look, the players themselves, they know how to shudder out the noise, but where I get with you as, because I had some people like telling me, the Swifties are coming after me. I didn't really care, but it's like, we care about football. Granted, yes, it's going to be a new audience, so to speak, of Swifties coming to watch the game. But hell, new audience and watching the Toe Story NFL Network stuff today or ESPN stuff today. So that being said, yeah, it's great. But I don't like to get caught up in all the sideshow and the distraction and stuff, so to speak, because Taylor Swift ain't gonna catch no touchdown passes. She ain't gonna be. She's not gonna do any blocking tonight. So I get that, yes, from a television perspective, showing all her screaming for whatever reason. Again, I don't get it, but
money.
Whatever.
Money.
Yeah, I mean,
the network gets it. It's all about revenue.
The network didn't really get no money for it because
viewership. I mean, you get paid off that. So
we'll see what the numbers look like.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna get, even though Aaron Rodgers is, we talked about it pregame. There's gonna be a lot of Chiefs fans that aren't watching this game, right? More than would normally be watching because Beyonce is in town in Kansas City. So you're gonna pull in more viewers from elsewhere who wouldn't normally be watching Sunday Night Football to be getting ready for work on Monday morning.
We're only missing about 70,000 in Kansas City. But even then, everybody wouldn't be watching Chiefs. But all that being said, coming into tonight's game, the Jets have a 1-2 record. They won, of course, their first game against Buffalo. They've lost their last 2 ball games. Chiefs lost their first ball game against the Detroit Lions at home, but have won the last 2 ball games. Now, a win tonight will make the 3-1 and keep them 1 game ahead of the Los Angeles Chargers, who won their matchup against the Raiders today, 24-17, along with putting them 2 games ahead of both the Raiders and the Denver Broncos, who won their first game against the Chicago Bears today.
All I'm worried about is those Cowboys. That's all I'm worried about, man.
Well, yeah, they were able to bounce back against the Patriots.
Exactly. But when you talk about the AFC West, man, I think it's still the Chiefs' division, right? Like, you look at the Denver Broncos. We thought, and I mean, I'm not even gonna lie to you, I felt like the Denver Broncos were going to be much better this season. But it seems like they've gotten worse. I mean, you get blown out, by 50 points, 40 points last week, and then you come out today. I think Russell Wilson looked a little better, but I don't feel like he looked much better than he did last week or the week before. And then you have the Chargers, who I even said I thought that and I still feel like they're probably going to split, 1-1 against the Chiefs. And then you got the Raiders, who, they got rid of Derek Carr. They new quarterback, new coach. So I feel like the Chiefs were going to be still the better team in the league. In the division. However, I feel like the separation wasn't going to be as drastic as it was, and it feels like it's still the same.
I do believe when I have a chance, and I'll look at my phone in just a second at the standings. With Miami losing today, and of course, they lost. Well, they lost to Buffalo.
I had a little chuckle inside. It gave me a little warm feeling inside when I saw that score.
No, I get, I get that part. But my biggest concern is, of course, if the Kansas City Chiefs win tonight's game, where they would be at in the standings, and I think that. If they win, it looks like they'll probably still be
second or third.
Well, they'll be tied amongst all with Buffalo, Baltimore, and Miami at 3-1, but I don't know where they'll be at as it relates to 1 through 4. So that being the case, though, in tonight's game, no Patrick Mahomes, but the quarterback leading the New York Jets is their overall second overall pick from 2 years ago, Zach Wilson. Of course, we saw last year they benched him not once but twice last season. Obviously, they could have and probably should have moved off of him in the offseason when they acquired Aaron Rodgers, but I guess they wanted to kind of justify their draft. They thought that they were going to be able to sit him and let him spend like a redshirt year learning under Aaron Rodgers. But with the injury, of course, it forced him to go back to him. Again, the first game, there was more defensive outing. Josh Allen throwing 4 interceptions in that ball game. And of course, that led to the loss. But the last 2 weeks, we've just seen really just how petrified and how horrible they have at quarterback with Zach Wilson.
Yeah, and I feel like, and I still say this, I feel like with the young quarterback, you have to get someone, and they did. They had Aaron Rodgers here, but you have to get someone that's in that quarterback room that's going to be able to say, hey, this is the film that we're watching. This is how you become a pro. This is what I'm seeing, from my point of view, while you're out there playing the game, right? Like, they don't have that right now. And to me, I think that's what's kind of holding him back a little bit, is because he doesn't have that veteran presence to make him, better.
One of the things that we get to see and the country gets to see tonight is going to be what the Chiefs haven't had for this year for the first time in Patrick Mahomes' career, and that's the top 10, really top 6, top 5 defense that they have right now that's going to be trying out on the field tonight. We got a chance to talk to Spags earlier this week, and that was my biggest thing is what he thought the difference was in this year's team versus previous years since he's been here. And one of the things that he gave us his reasoning. What I pointed out to him, I said one of the things that helps is that you had a lot of rookies who were, obviously on the team for the first time last year. They didn't know any other system. They had to learn and buy into your system. And the fact that they excelled in it, obviously because they ended up in the Super Bowl with them, they got all that. They got that all that on the field training. They pretty much learned the system. So now going into year 2, there's really no excuse for them. Unless you're putting in some new stuff where they get to learn with everybody else, and along with Justin Reed as well. So it's like, all they know is your system, and so they should be able to know like the back of their head. So they don't have to. They're pretty much reactive versus trying to read and react to what's going on out there on the field. So when he calls the play, nobody has to tell anybody what place that they need to be in. So your thoughts on that?
I think when you look at this defense, they're more advanced than what Spags' old defense, like you said, like Spags' defense, because you look at year 1 and year 2 with Spags, they started out slow and then got better as time went on. Now they come out the gate just ready. And I think that, and I believe you may have asked this, was it because they were young and they learned as they come in and they didn't know another defense in the league before? And I think that does have a lot to do with it. Like, you're green. You're going from college, then it's like your mind is erased, like you're in Men in Black, and they just give that mind erased thing. And so now you're learning new. It's like a baby learning how to walk, and you're not learning something else and then trying to come in and erase everything that you've already learned.
And the flip side, and the flip side to add on to that is that you look at both offense and defense. Even though you got a new offensive coordinator in Matt Nagy. For the most part, he had already been it, so nothing has changed on this team as it relates to terminology, both on the offense and the defense. So everybody that's here is, they're all learning the same thing or learn what they already, they're just learning more on top of what they already had last season. And so to me, that's a good thing. And I mean, to be quite honest, to me, that is added to the success. But also, if you look at it, it puts more pressure on the offense, especially Patrick Mahomes, because think about it. The first couple of games, I talked about how the defense, especially the game against Jacksonville, how the defense won that game. And now, granted, you played a bad team in the Chicago Bears, but that's the perfect game that you want, so that way you can get everything clicking, whether it's on the ground. Because you remember in Jacksonville, they only ran the football 4 times in the first half before finishing with 22 attempts. Last week against Chicago, they were able to run the football, throw the football, do everything that they need to do. And then you saw the defense get after Justin Fields, sacks, interceptions, everything. So it looked like a perfect game, but that was a game that you got a chance to work out all the kinks. And now you're going to be playing a team that is good on the defensive side of the football. Now you get to try to put your offense to work against a solid defense and just let your defense do it. Look, we know that if the Jets can do anything, they can run the football. They don't have the quarterback to throw the football, so you don't want to put, lay off of them and give them a chance to exploit you or anything on this side. So, again, this is a good game for what you did last week. If it carries over today, then you know that the Chiefs are for real on both sides of the football. Because if the Chiefs could put up points, 30, 40 points against this team, then, watch out.
Which they should be able to.
Yeah.
I mean, look, even though the offensive side of the ball for the Jets, they struggle a little bit just because they don't have a quarterback at the helm that's able to run the show. But their defense is very good. You look at Sauce Gardner, you look at DJ Reed, all those guys, Quinn Williams, all those guys are they stepped in the league.
Yeah.
And I feel like, and even Patrick Mahomes talked about it earlier this week, how DJ Reed got him when he was in college, pick 6. And he was asked, if he remembered that pick 6 and what the play was. He's like, normally I don't get pick 6. Doesn't happen very often, but I know what play it was. I know where we were at and so forth. So I think he's going to have that in his mind. But if this Chiefs offense, meaning the receivers, if they're able to go out there and let's just say go out there and between all the receivers, if Patrick Mahomes can have 250 yards passing, which, that's good. That's great.
Yeah.
If he can have 250 yards passing, I think that'll do this Chiefs offense justice.
One of the things that I want to ask you, and let's talk about, the last time that the Chiefs played on NBC actually was the season opener against the Detroit Lions. Now, one of the things, one of the biggest takeaways, of course, we know was the pointing out by one Chris Collinsworth of Jawan Taylor. Yep. And of course, we've seen, I don't want to say the ramifications, but the repercussions from that, with all the false starts and illegal line, illegal procedure, whatever from him. So we get back. I don't know if you talked to him this week. I know I talked to him Thursday in the locker room. Yeah, I talked to him Thursday in the locker room. And one of the things that he told me about was that he has done some things to work on where his stance is and maybe not getting a head start, so to speak. So he's not going to say whether or not he's being picked on or anything like that, because we did see today on television and even within the last week a lot of linemen not being where they should be, and I don't know if there were really any calls on that today. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not the officials call that tonight against him and see how it plays out.
Yeah, my thing about it is the officials in the league, they were trying to be proactive or reactive. Yeah. Reactive to, like you said, the Thursday night game. It's like, all right, that week it wasn't what it was supposed to be. Like, you guys got to call that. And then you go down to Jacksonville's former team. I'm pretty sure Doug Peterson's like, hey, he did this with us. Be on the lookout for it. And then they start calling it, right? And it bleeds over into week 3. And now I think on some of those, it was very questionable about how it was and where he was lined up and why they were still calling it. And so when you think about it from that perspective, I feel like now the refs are going to be a little bit more lenient, because it was looked at from across the league on social media of like, oh, well, these guys are lined up in the same space. Why aren't they being called for the same thing? And so I feel like he was getting picked on a little bit. But if you're lining up wrong, you're lining up wrong.
And we both said, really, all you got to do is when you go out there, and people say, well, it's monotonous, but go out there, you see the official. I don't care where he's at. You ask him thumbs up, thumbs down. If he gives you thumbs up, you're good. So you have to, you have to worry about it. And obviously, if it's in a Florida game and it's kind of quickly, I get it. But again, at the end of the day, until they stop calling it on you, you've got to be mindful and conscious of it.
Of course.
Okay, so now let's look at this. Obviously, let's look at the offense for the Chiefs. Got Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce. Obviously, the running game last week, all three running backs scored. Mm-hmm. McKinnon scored in the air for the Chiefs, along with Pacheco and Clyde on the ground. How does this Chiefs with the offensive line match up with this? This is a top 5 defense that was there last year. And I think right about now they're probably ranked number 12 based because they're spending a lot of time on the field. But how do you see them faring against this front seven with Sauce Gardner and them on the back end?
It's going to be interesting to see. I'm talking about not the middle with Creed and Joe Tooney and Trey Smith. You know those guys, but this the new bookends where you have the right tackle and left tackle.
Well, the one thing to that point, I did talk to DeJuan, faced him last year when Jackson. So he did face him last year, so he knows what they bring, and he did say that their front four is tough. So
yeah.
He knows that they're gonna have their work cut out for him. That's what he told me.
Yeah, I feel like they're gonna be fine. To be honest, I just think they have a lot of continuity, and where that pressure comes from is not really from the outside, but it's more so from the inside with Quinn Williams. Quinn Williams to me he's not the. From what I've seen from him, he's not going to be the Chris Jones type where he moves up and down the line. Aaron Donald type where he moves up and down. He's going to get set in the spot, and if he's going to, there's a point of an attack where he's going to go, and then you're going to already know and be able to call it out. So I just think, that this offensive line, they've been through it, man. I feel like they're going to be fine.
The Chiefs don't have a certified number 1 receiver that lines up on the outside, so I'm wondering where's Sauce Gardner, who he's going to line up against. I don't think he's someone that travels. So I don't know if he's going to be lined up on Marquez's side or Sky Moore's side, or, maybe he might surprise us and move around. Who do you think who do you think he's going to match up with? And of course, look, the Chiefs, the Chiefs wide receivers really haven't put up those type of numbers or anything like that, that kind of stands out. So how do you think that matchup on the outside with against Sauce Gardner is going to work out for the Chiefs?
I mean, the only person I feel like he's going to be looking at is a guy who I even asked earlier this week, brought up in a press conference with Matt Nagy, Justin Watson. I mean, to me, he's their best receiver. So if I see it, then of course the Jets see it. And I feel like Sauce Gardner is going to be matched up with him. Probably sprinkle a little bit of MVS in there just because of name, and I think J.J. Reed is going to be on Sky Moore, just size. But it's going to be interesting. I want to see how Sauce Gardner plays. I haven't gotten to see him play live yet. So I'm really wanting to see him play because I know he's a physical guy and they're confident. And when you get those confident guys like that, they tend to pump fake, try to jump the route, and get beat. I mean, you're gonna take those. We saw it with a guy like Marcus Peters, who's a ball hawk, a lot of confidence, and sometimes he got beat. And so I feel like you're gonna have to figure out some ways to put some things together that he hasn't seen before.
Defensively for the Chiefs, what do you feel is going to be their biggest challenge in tonight's game? Of course, we are live here with the pregame cheat sheet. Darren Smith along with Steve Watts here at MetLife Stadium. Live on the air right now. So, how do you see the Chiefs defense going up against that offense? Knowing you don't have to face Aaron Rodgers, but you got a couple of running backs in Breece Hall along with Dalvin Cook, and on the outside you still got Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, you do. I think you play solid. You don't have to do anything spectacular. I mean, remember, you don't have Nick Bolton, so it's going to be your second week in a row without him. So I feel like you just stay solid. Just don't try to do anything that you wouldn't normally do, and you'll be fine. Like these guys have shown that they're good. Like they played against some some talent. Even though people don't, even though they don't look as good as they should have on paper, Jacksonville Jaguars have a good squad.
Oh yeah,
like you're up and down that offensive roster, they're good. And so you looking at these cornerbacks, there's not going to be anything that Garrett Wilson's going to do that they haven't seen before.
And what's interesting, Sauce Gardner was he was the defensive rookie of the year last year at cornerback, and he was one of the top 2 cornerbacks that he said was coming back this year, along with Pat Surtain out in Denver. But the number 1 cornerback right now in the NFL resides in Kansas City, Trent McDuffie.
Yep.
What do you expect from him tonight?
Keep balling.
And I will say one of the things that Spags mentioned when I did talk about it, he did say that Trent McDuffie's play has allowed them to have the Jerry's on the other side playing man up on their number 1 receiver, more or less. So it's worked out for the defense.
Yeah, like I said, you look up and down this AFC, right? And you look at Jamar Chase, you look at Stephon Diggs, you look at Devontae Adams, Mike Williams, what's the other cat in LA? Keenan Allen. All these guys vary in size and they vary in speed.
Yeah.
So there's nothing that these guys are going to do that they haven't seen before, right? And I think Trent has been one of those guys. He took the slump as a freshman, so to speak. And now he's not a rookie anymore.
He got injured during the first game of the season, then came back.
Yep.
Yeah,
so. And they played the biggest game of the season.
Oh yeah.
with 2 other guys that were balling.
Yeah.
So
look, we're here. We're live at MetLife Stadium. Again, if you can kind of see in the background, we are here in the New York media market, so you will see a lot of bright lights. But see, there's a ton of Chiefs. I mean, literally half the stadium thus far that is coming in are people in red and white, Chiefs jerseys, of course. Yep. We got Jets fans, they are loyal. I don't know where the 12th man is around here, but it's probably behind one of the goalposts. But Kansas City's got their work cut out as it relates to the fan base here, because they're not expecting, but I know, our good friend from ESPN, Kimberly Barton, posted a thing about, what if the Jets went out and tell her, look, calm down, somebody take her phone before she, start tweeting some more craziness, because everybody knows the Chiefs should win this game tonight. But
9-point favorite.
Yeah, 9.5, I believe. Mm-hmm. It's funny, the line actually moved down to 7.5. Why? I don't know where the money comes from for the Jets. But I do want to ask you your X factor in tonight's game for the Kansas City Chiefs.
My X factor would be the running backs, man. I feel like, you guys had a hat trick of what Isaiah Pacheco called it last week, the hat trick. Can they continue that running game so that way these defenses are not able to sit back in the zone and play the pass? Because, that's when you look at what the Detroit Lions did. They sat back in the zone and they said, all right, beat us with the pass. We're going to be in whatever spot you throw it to. You're going to fill the gap, and we're just going to tackle you. And so after you catch the ball. So I feel like getting that running game going, and I know you asked Andy about it, being more, having a balanced offense, and other media has talked about it. So you gotta have that running game going, and that's what's gonna be my expectation.
It's not more so a balance, but again, you can't play a half where you literally have 2 called runs, and the other 2 runs come from Patrick scrambling, and that's it. I mean, because you're putting so much pressure on the wide receivers. Again, you end up going 3 and out a lot, to where you putting yourself and you putting the defense, to where they're bending and you're hoping that they don't break. My thing is, look, just keep the defense honest. I mean, I get it that with this offense and their philosophy, the pass game or the short passes is an extension of the run game. But when it's not hidden and Patrick, things aren't clicking, that's the biggest concern. To me, it's not a thing where, look, you need to run the ball 25, 30 times. No, all of it, everything happens within the flow of the game. You got to get a feel for it. But again, sometimes if the passes ain't there, there's no harm. Look, there's no harm in getting 4 yards here, get another 4 yards. Now it's 3rd and short. Yeah. So now they don't know if you're going to pass it or if you're going to throw the football. I'm sorry, if you're going to pass it or run the football. So now you got the defense. You could have them back on here. So that's my biggest gripe when it comes to not running the football. Not to say not running the football enough, but just running it to where, yes, obviously you don't want to run it every first down because you make it obvious, but but you do. But there's no way that you should be having 2 or 4 running attempts going into the half. Period.
Yeah, I agree. What's your X factor?
You know what? When you mention the running backs, that is a good point. I'm gonna still stick with the wide receivers. You know, I still haven't seen enough connection with Mahomes and the starting wide receivers with Sky Moore and Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Look, and I asked him about it. You know, and one of the things that he mentioned that, you know, as a competitor, yes, he would like to be involved more, but as long as they're winning, he's good. So that's, so I get it. But for me, we know Kelsey's going to do what he's going to do. We know Mahomes going to get in the football. Mm-hmm. But after a while, you still have to, and granted, other receivers come in and get get a couple of catches here and there, but it's still not enough to where you make them a threat. Yep. MVS along with Sky Moore to keep some pressure.
And Chiefs are leaving the field.
Yeah, but to keep some pressure off of Travis Kelce, because the thing is, if they feel like, well, hell, these receivers aren't going to do much, they can focus in on trying to double Kelce and send them to rush out the ball because they know that you can say you trust them, but the number of targets and the number of catches prove otherwise.
Yeah, I agree.
And so,
I agree.
So for me, it's still the wide receivers. I think that today or tonight would be a good opportunity to show more about it and look. And the best way to go against the pressure that is going to be coming your way is to go right at it. And so, right. and so, even if that includes, some run game, and now the one thing I don't want to see, I don't want to see the pass game be a lot of screens because what you're doing, you're going to be behind the line of scrimmage trying to screen out to where they can, when they come at an angle and be able to tackle some of the receivers or the running back and tackle them for a loss. So I'm hoping we don't see too much of that. But for me, the X factor on the offensive side is still the wide receivers for this game.
Yeah, I agree, and that's why I said this is going to have to be a confidence game for those guys. I mean, get them some catches early. That way they're able to play free.
Defensively, what are you looking at X factor wise for Kansas City against this New York Jets team to pull off?
Oh, it's funny that you asked me that because I've been thinking about that question all week, man.
It's funny. I was trying to give you a couple more seconds.
Yeah, no. Here's the thing. So Willie Gay earlier this week, was and I don't no disrespect to Willie Gay, but he did kind of give some. He gave some bulletin board material a little bit, when he had the silence after he asked a question. And I don't think he was intentional with it. It was just, because he said no disrespect, right?
Let me jump in and say this. So for our audience, and I know a lot of people saw the clip, this is what I want you to understand about Willie. Willie is honest to a fault. Yeah. And the thing is, if you ask him a question, he'll answer it. But I also want to make people understand something. And this is no shot at Willie because he'll tell you. Willie doesn't watch sports. Yeah. He doesn't. I mean, he will freely admit he doesn't watch football when it comes to teams that they're going to play. He watches what they show during in practice and in the film room the week of the game. He does not go home and watch games throughout Saturdays and Sundays or whatever. That's just not his thing. So when he's asked about it, it's not that he's taking a shot at Wilson. It's just that he's just looking at. Because we talked to him, I guess it was Wednesday.
Right.
He's looking at this. So he's looking at what they showed on film, either flying back or the game was here. Either what they showed on film Monday or Tuesday, or that morning, prior to them meeting with the media. So in Willie's defense, it's not that he's taking shots. I mean, really, that's just who he. I mean, you ask the question, he gives you an answer. Yeah. It may not be what you want to hear, or for some people who are looking for clickbait, that might be what you got from it. So.
I mean, I agree. But here's the thing. Willie Gay is who I'm watching in that linebacking crew. Yeah. I mean, with no Nick Bolton, you're going to have to –
Drew Tranquil.
You're going to have to make sure that you guys – Drew has to make sure he's getting those calls and he has the green dot. So that's what I'm watching. I'm watching those linebacking crew because they're going to have to get out and guard. They're going to help stop the run. My job plus is what Spags preaches. So that means they're going to have to do their job plus something. I think this is going to be the linebacker core who is my X-factor.
Quickly for myself, I'm going to go with the corners. I think the corners, because I want to see how they match up against Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
And so for me, that's what I'm going with. Basically, LJ, I think L'Jarius Sneed, if he's matched up on Garrett Wilson, that's what I want to see. And then also, look, that front line, I want to see what kind of pressure you put on Zach Wilson. Make Zach Wilson beat you. Yeah. I want to see, I want to see him under pressure and see what he's able to do. Because if he gets booed at this stadium tonight, it's going to be ugly.
Sunday night football. Yeah, you don't want that.
Before we get out of here, quickly, who you got winning tonight?
I got the Chiefs winning. I got them winning. I got the 31-17. I think score.
Yeah.
31-17.
I don't think they get 70 points. I got 31. I got 31-9. I think they kick 3 field goals. Before we get out of here, Steve, you want to thank your sponsors?
Yeah, so thank you to my friends over at Dealers on the Rosa. Yet again, they hooked me up with another suit this week, black and gray, and ready for New York. So make sure if you guys have some kids or youth family members that you know going to be going to homecoming, make sure you go out there and talk to my friends over at Dealers on the Rosa. Also, shout out to Leandria and Peyton and Maya. They helped me pick out this fit as well.
Good job, everyone. I want to thank Todd White and Todd Taylor Suits, Todd Clothing and Taylor Suits, getting me suited and booted. Located 2 places along in Kansas City, War Parkway, along with 20th and Broadway. Make sure you stop by there, get all your suited needs. Also, want to thank Econo Group for sponsoring my airline to get me to and fro. So, and also we want to thank Gates Barbecue as well for being our day one all the way through. So, make sure you follow us. We'll do a post-game show. We'll also bring you the press conferences after the game with Patrick, along with Andy Reid and probably Travis Kelce. Yeah. And who knows, even Taylor Swift might make an appearance. But for Steve Walls, I'm Darren Smith. Thank you so very much. This is the pregame cheat sheet. Go Chiefs.
Football fans, you can't spell gate without Gates, and great tailgates start with Gates sauces and seasonings. Named synonymous with mouth-watering tailgates. When you make your list of tailgate essentials, add Gates sauces and seasonings to that list. Spice up your tailgate experience with that unmistakable great taste. Available in 4 tantalizing flavors. Classic, sweet and mild, mild and hot. Find it at your local grocer, and if you don't see it, ask for it. Visit GatesBarbecue.com to purchase any of the great sauces and seasonings. Great tailgates start with Gates.